What will this Husker offensive line look like in the opener? Will we see an improved offensive line for Nebraska?
Well, I think one thing you're going to see, Sean, is they're going to lean hard on it in the run game. I think that's what we're going to see from Nebraska this season. A more dedicated effort to lean on those big boys in the run game. Lean on opponents. It's a big, strong offensive line. It's pass blocking has been an issue. I don't think Nebraska is going to be they're going to send Sims on 35 drop back passes this year. I think it'll be I think they're really going to try to run. Now it's hard. How many teams, Sean, do you know of that just say, okay, we're going to run it at you? It's not hard to do. There's not that many.
Wants to be able to do that.
Well, but not many people can. So can this line do that? Can it get a consistent push? I'm not saying Minnesota is Georgia. Minnesota's defense is not Georgia, but it's pretty good. It's big in the interior, big and thick in the interior, long and good on the edges. It'll be tough to run on them.
My thing, can they develop a scheme that keeps defenses off balance that will complement this line? I mean, last year, the way they ran the ball, it didn't really help the line. They did a lot of things with that line. I mean, think about some of the stuff they did last year. They would do a tackle over where they'd bring Bryce Benhart over to the left side, and they put Casey Thompson in a 7-step drop. Mm-hmm. I mean, just things that were not going to help this line.
Right. And, well, Mark Whipple didn't care. I mean,
he was coach of the New England Patriots.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that his thing was protect. Just protect. Well, when they didn't protect well, he just said the same thing. Protect. Just didn't go that well. He was, what I'm suggesting, Sean, is he was stubborn. So yeah, it'll look different. It's going to look different. The offense is going to look different. It's going to look different because they're going to try to run it. Rule has said we're going to do whatever we have to do, and it's not going to always be simple. They'll do what they have to do: inside zone, outside zone, power, counter. He'll just do what he has to do it. Now, will they be able to? My God, it's interesting. I mean, they're gonna start that big number 22 back there, Gabe Irvin, and that first couple series are going to be fascinating to watch. Can they move the line of scrimmage? Is it going to be 2nd and 8, or is it going to be 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5? That's what you watch for. Does he get any daylight at all early? It'll be hard because you know how these games go. Minnesota's going to be whipped into a frenzy on defense. I think Rule's very patient. He's going to be very patient. What you see, we saw it back in the Osborne era. Defenses come out, they're high flying. Nebraska doesn't get much. Even in the great days, they didn't always run it that well early in games. I can remember watching with my dad going, oh God, not getting much. Pretty soon though, second quarter. Oh, okay.
1 yard, 3 yards.
Okay.
5 yards.
Now they're getting 5 and 6. Okay. Now it looks like the dam's going to break, and it would. I don't think we're going to see that. But Sean, if we're sitting up there going, oh, 2nd and 9 again, 2nd and 9.
Second and predictable.
Yeah, it's trouble. That's what we got. I think the offensive line will be better, but I know you and I know me, we're going to be watching those tackles and pass protection.
Well, and if it doesn't work, the traditional running game, how much are they going to have to go to that Jeff Sims running game? And that's the one, the college, like Rick Neuheisel says this all the time on his radio show. The advantage of the college game is the QB run game because you're playing with the numbers advantage. It's 6 on 7 people on 6. You got 6 blockers on 6 tacklers and 1 ball carrier. So that's where the quarterback comes into play. If they can't run it consistently, traditionally, how much will they have to go to Sims to open some things up?
Well, that's a big question. And then the other part of that discussion, that quarterback run discussion, is just, okay, Sims drops back, receiver 1's covered, receivers 2 covered, take off. Just take off. I think you're going to see that. That's going to be a kind of a part of the offense.
But get out of bounds or take the hit is the question.
That's the question. But I don't mind the discussion too much because he's going to be dangerous in those situations. If you're a defensive coordinator, you're looking at that saying, God dang it, we're a man. They're going to get manned up a lot because you're going to be able to man those Nebraska receivers. You'll man up on them. But you know what happens? They run down the field with their back to the quarterback. cover. There could be good coverage, and he just finds an opening and goes. And Sean, he will go for a while because he runs like a tailback.
Well, and that's where Casey last year. I mean, he could run, but
He
it
couldn't
was
do it.
But it was like watching your kid run across a busy street. You just kind of like, you know,
yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah,
you're like, oh, he's gonna, like he can get across. Oh
Right.
shit,
Right.
but maybe he won't be able to make it. He's not gonna make it across the street. Oh God, you know, like
analogy. Oh yeah, Casey. I think most Nebraska fans understand by this point. Casey don't run it like this guy. I mean, this guy can run. Casey wasn't very fast.
There'd be times where you're like, go,
yeah,
because we're so used to Martinez, and the Martinez's and Tommy Armstrong's last few years, where you saw that patch of grass
go,
and Casey that wasn't what he was built to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had his own strengths, like
and he was really accurate downfield thrower. I mean, he was accurate. He wasn't always accurate across the passing game as a whole, but he really could throw it downfield. And his completion percentage was good, but man, he didn't. Just so people understand, this guy runs it. This guy's like Gale Sayers compared to Casey Thompson.
He's at least a low 4.6, if not a high 4.5 40.
Yeah, and he's 6'4", 225.
So when he gets hit, he's going to fly forward. It's not going to be a fall back type of deal. He's going to get yards forward on hits.
Yeah, that's something. I just know this. I always try to put my feet in the shoes of the defensive coordinator. And it would be a bear dealing with this guy. Nebraska's offense isn't great. It's not. And they don't have a lot of explosion, but this guy's explosive.
You know, and their offensive line last year really struggled. I mean, we can't really losing Cam Jurgens, Nuri Newelli. I was talking to a former Husker player, and he goes, Sean, I don't think people realize, he played on the lines before, how much Cam Jurgens helped maybe cover up the year before. Like, they weren't great when Jurgens was there as a line, but he still covered up a lot of deficiencies.
Yeah, and you're right about Newelli. He's maybe their most talented offensive lineman. Nordine. I mean, you could make that argument.
And Piper might be their most consistent.
Yeah. So, not having Newelli last year, along with Cam Jurgens' loss, that was big.
This game, though, for Bryce Benhart, Minnesota native, you got Omar Brown, Minnesota native, Emmett Johnson. There's three Minnesota natives. This is the first time I can really remember Nebraska's played Minnesota in the Big Ten, where there's actually been some key guys on the team from Minnesota. So there'll be a little bit of juice in some of these kids.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of juice in Omar Brown. Robin talked about that earlier in the week. And you think Ben Hart is an interesting guy to me because he's got a really hard edge to him. You want a guy like that. If you meet him, you want him to succeed. He has this sort of mentality that you like. He's got to move his feet. he's got to move his feet better.